For many people, the COVID-19 pandemic has passed and is not given much thought or news coverage. Yet there's a growing number of people who have reported symptoms that have never left them. Many of them have had these symptoms for years. The Office of National Statistics estimates that over 2 million Britons have long COVID. You may have it, or you may know someone who is struggling with it. My name is Paul, and I've been debilitated by long COVID since January 22. In this podcast, I'm going to share my journey and things I've experienced along the way. My aim is not to give medical advice. I'm certainly not qualified to do that. But I've been gaslit, ridiculed and dismissed for my symptoms, and I know it can be a very lonely place to be. It's an invisible illness, and I just want people to know that they're not alone. Hello and welcome to my podcast, Life with Long COVID, with me, Paul Clark. I'm so pleased that you could download and listen to this episode this week, because I know I don't take anything for granted. I know there's weeks when I can't even listen to stuff, let alone read it, due to the fatigue. So I totally appreciate you spending some precious energy listening to this today. And I hope this episode finds you well as can be, should I say. I've had an interesting morning, actually. I've had an assessment for a benefit here in the UK. I hate the name benefit or welfare, but basically that's what it is. And the aim of the assessment was to score me as to, in percentage terms, as to how disabled I am. Now, if I think back a few years ago, I wasn't even ready to accept the fact that I am actually disabled now. If you listen to my episodes from last year to this year, I think you probably see that there's a growing realisation on my part that I am in fact disabled. But as I say, it took me a long time to get there, because I think I was previously able-bodied, and you have these preconceptions about what a disabled person is, what a disabled person isn't. And one thing long COVID has done is open my eyes up to invisible disabilities and invisible disabilities, the stuff that you don't see. You know, being disabled is so much more, isn't it, than being in a wheelchair. Even if you see someone in a wheelchair, there's so much more to it than that. And each person's journey is unique, and you'll be at your, whatever you're going through at the moment, you'll have your challenges as well. But going through this assessment this morning in a kind of fine detail, they make you talk through your day and your experience and what you do. And when you go through your day, you realise that you take some things for granted, or you've got normalised some things that actually are above and beyond what you would have experienced before. For example, when I have a shower, it takes me quite a while to get dressed again because it's painful. I've got aching limbs. When I make dinner, I'm not always safe because I've got this stupid foggy brain, and I've done things like putting the kettle in the fridge once it's boiled and stupid things like that. So if there's anything more than very, very simple, I have to have my wife Rachel around just to make sure that I don't get into any bother or trouble or even any dangerous situations. I can't chop vegetables and do things in the kitchen without sitting on my perching stool, because I'm so blooming exhausted all the time. Things like that, which now have become my norm. I've just taken it for granted now, because they're quite small and inconsequential things, but make a big difference to my life. And I wouldn't normally think of them as unusual, but of course they are. It's not the person I was before. Didn't need a perching stool. I didn't need a shower stool. I didn't need help going into the toilet. Basic functional things that I took for granted before have been taken away from me, and that's even before you get into using a wheelchair, a scooter, a stick, all those kind of things. And so I was kind of, assessment made me reflect a little bit more on my disabilities, my constant need to be validated for them for some reason. I had a really good doctor's appointment last week, and I say it was really good because she was understanding, and she took the time to listen to me, and she didn't judge me, and she didn't ensue that long COVID doesn't exist. She was very helpful. And whilst I was in there, I knew what I was doing. I kept saying to her, of course, because I need to use a wheelchair for this and a wheelchair for that, and I knew halfway through the conversation I was kind of seeking her validation for using mobility aids. I don't know why, because I clearly need them, and I do need them. And of course she gave me that validation, but I don't know, there's something about needing to be validated all the time by a medical professional. I guess it's because we encounter, wherever what part of the world we're on, we often encounter people who don't believe us. So when we find somebody that actually is interested and invests the time into our condition, it's like someone's turned the tap on, and for the next 20 minutes I was pillaring this poor doctor for with all manner of questions, just because I had someone understanding in front of me. It was really helpful and actually made my week, I would say. And again, the assessment that I went through today was very understanding. It was helpful. I didn't get any disparaging comments or suggestions that perhaps it was all in my head and all the usual things we get. It was a positive experience. And I'm just thinking, maybe here in the UK, COVID's in the news because the COVID inquiry is still going on, in which the government are answering questions about their actions during the pandemic and beyond. And I think it's raised the profile of COVID once again. It's been just gone as the 5th anniversary of the outbreak of the pandemic, and people are talking about how long COVID is affected children and their learning, how many children have developed additional learning needs because of the pandemic, because they were kept at home for a year without that social interaction, and how that's put children and society behind in many ways. And of course, the other thing that's happened is we're getting more stories of people with long COVID. And just in the last week, a couple of which I've shared on the Life Long COVID Facebook page, are stories of people who reported by the news outlets who are still struggling, possibly like you and me. And I welcome all of it because it's awareness. We need to do it more often, because it will soon get forgotten now once the stories have been read and get disappear down those feeds. But it's a good time for COVID awareness in the UK. Let me know if you're in a different part of the world, whether it's the same way you are, because I'd be interested to hear that. And, what reaction do you get from folks when you tell them that you've got long COVID? Certainly, as I say, here in the last week or so, I've felt some mellowing and some positivity that people are starting to recognise this. And maybe, just maybe, some research will be done and it'll ramp up, and we'll get some kind of answers. I have no idea. Because, of course, with any score of disability or any benefit, what they want to know is the permanency of our condition. And I've got letters that said my condition is probably likely to be permanent now. But ultimately, nobody knows. Nobody knows if or how we're going to recover from this. So we struggle on. And I'm sure people hope that we're just going to get better. And we don't. And when you see us, like, you can almost see people's face. When you see them in the streets and they say, They always look at you and they say, "How are you?" And you think, "Do I answer this or not?" And you answer them, and you can tell they really want you to say, "Oh, I'm getting over it. I'm fine now. I'm starting to recover." They want some positive news, but for the last 3 years, I haven't said that. I've said I'm the same, and I'm probably likely to remain the same. I'm probably not going to get better, i.e. you don't need to keep asking me, it's fine. That kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So assessments, learning to accept your disability, I think is a massive thing. And am I there yet? I've certainly accepted the fact that I am disabled, but I don't think I've fully accepted it, because otherwise why would I need all this validation all the time? And you may be where I was last year, of thinking, well, I'm not disabled. I'm not going to call myself disabled. I'm going to resist doing that. I totally respect that, and I totally respect where you're coming from. Generally this week, it's been a tired week for me. I don't know how it's been for you, but the weather is picking up here in the UK. The sun is starting to shine. We're getting warmer days than we did before. So, I'm hoping that maybe my non-COVID symptoms will improve. Hey, I can hope, can't I? Thank you to all of those who have been sending in messages and signing up for Life with Long COVID, the newsletter, which is a new thing, and it's a way, I hope, of connecting us together as a community. And what you need to do, if you're interested in this, is to click on the link in what they call the show notes, or wherever you get this podcast from, and it'll ask you whether you want to sign up. You can sign up for free, or you can choose to give a little donation every month, whatever is appropriate for you. And then you will receive not just notification of when this podcast comes out, but you'll also receive articles and writings and notes that I write throughout the week, which I hope are going to be of help to the Long COVID community. And the thing that I want to develop more than the articles is the facility of chat on there, where you can post a topic and say, I'm feeling really crap today. How do you guys feel? And we can use that chat facility that's built in just to let loose. If you're having a bad day, you can vent it, and like-minded people can say, "Yeah, I see you. I know it. I've been there. Hold on," that kind of stuff, which is mutual support and encouragement. So that's what I hope the chat will develop into. So as I say, if you want to join in, then click the link and sign up, and it'd be great to see more of you there. I'm constantly humbled by the sales of Living with Long COVID, the book. That's still on Amazon. It's by me, Paul Ian Clark. You just have to search for it and you'll find it. Has some wonderful reviews, and I wanted to ask that if you have read it, whether you will mind reviewing it as well on Amazon. Quite a few of you have done, but it means a lot to the kind of algorithms if you read the book and you review it, and then it will raise a profile of it, and more people will be able to find it. So if you've read it, if you've got the book, thank you first of all for buying it, whether it's in physical form or Kindle form, and if you could leave a review, that would be fantastic. In the meantime, I hope you have a good week. I hope wherever you are that you will find those pockets, those spaces of where you're able just to be with yourself, and just for a second forget about the fatigue, forget about the pain, and just simply be, and know that you are enough, even in your debilitated form. However this disease has disabled you, you're enough. You don't need further validation, and you are amongst a like-minded community of people who hear you, they see you, and together we'll strive for better awareness and for some viable treatments for this thing that we share. Take care, God bless, and I'll see you again on the next episode.